Hey guys, I'm Michael Cudlitz. I play Abraham Ford on The Walking Dead, and you are listening to the Dave and Creech podcast.
This is the Dave and Creech Show, the only podcast where podcaster CJ Creech and actor Dave Sheridan come together to talk all things entertainment with your favorite entertainers. Want to ask our guests a question? Tweet them to @DaveSheridan or @CJCNOV88, and they may be asked to our guests live on the show. We do have to ask you stay seated during the podcast because this ride may get a little bit hilarious. Now here's your hosts, Dave and Creech.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 14 of the Dave and Creech Show. I am CJ Creech, and here's my co-host, actor Dave Sheridan.
That's right, everybody, and this is a very special show. One, because it's special because you're listening to our show, but we also have a great guest on this week. We've got Michael Cudlitz from The Walking Dead, which just wrapped up season 6. So we are going to actually have an exclusive interview with him all about the wrap-up, all about the entire season 6, his, turmoil season, the tumultuous season of what was happening with Abraham, and he's going to give us some hints of who was actually killed by Negan and Lucille in the season 6 finale, because we know that's a cliffhanger, and we've got Michael Cudlitz on, and he is going to sort of give us as much information as he legally can without getting in a lot of hot water, but he's definitely going to give us some hints. So you got to stay tuned and listen to that. And before we get to him, though, we're going to go to just our general wrap-up, since it was the season finale, and we normally do a wrap-up anyway, and we have Michael Cudlitz on. This entire podcast is going to be pretty heavy, curated, and topic-wise about The Walking Dead. Right, Creech?
Exactly, and actually, a fun fact, which I don't even know if you know. I think I had told you. I'm assuming we're definitely going to have a bunch of new listeners coming in to hear our interview with Michael, but the intro guy at the very beginning of the podcast that does the intro, he introduces us every week, is actually Eric from The Walking Dead, a good friend of mine, Jordan Woods Robinson. So that's yet another tie to The Walking Dead. And yeah, it's going to be focused mainly on The Walking Dead this week. So our listeners, our usual listeners that don't like The Walking Dead, there are a couple out there that you might not like this episode that much. However, he does talk more than just The Walking Dead, as Michael Cudlitz has had a pretty varied career. Before we get into that, though, just want to touch in for our new listeners.
I don't know why would. First of all, really quick, why would we want any listeners that are not fans of The Walking Dead? I don't think we have listeners that are not fans of The Walking Dead. I don't think that. I think you're being too.
No, we actually do. One of our good listeners off of Twitter, Joe, has never seen an episode of The Walking Dead. I've told her she needs to watch it. However, she hasn't seen it yet, so I know she probably skips past the wrap up normally. So I mean, there's as to it has 20, 30, 40 million viewers out there. There are some people who listen to our podcast that have not seen The Walking Dead. They love you, and now in essence they listen to it to listen to me.
Oh then I mean, yeah, I understand. Yeah, she lives in like Scotland, so they might not have it. It might not be.
It comes on Fox over there.
Yeah, sure, I know, but she's probably too busy watching Neighbors or whatever is on over there. I don't know what the heck they watch. The young ones, who knows? Hey, so by the way, I did go down to Florida for Easter break with my family, but I only went to Disney World and the Disney World park, so I didn't get a chance to go to the Universal Studios because you said I think you said Jordan would be over there doing Blue Man Group, right?
Yes.
And I was so busy, man. You know what I'm saying? I never got, because we paid for sort of the package deal of tickets of parks with Disney World. And so I wasn't about to spend more money to go somewhere else when I'm so frugal that like that park opened at 8 a.m. and closed at 11:55, and I was there until 12, a.m. every night. They were kicking me. I was the last guy on the riverboat that you took the riverboat to the tram, and the tram went to the monorail, and the monorail took you to your shuttle bus, which got you to your hotel room. By the time I got back to my hotel room, it was like 1:30 in the morning every night. And then we'd wake up again at 7.
Did you try pretend to be doofy to see if they would let you stay a little bit longer?
No, I didn't remember. Did we have a conversation? I was supposed to do that?
I was just seeing you could have done that just to see if they'd let you stay. Like, oh, I feel sorry for this guy. Let him enjoy the park a little bit longer.
Oh, yeah. No, I did think like, God, if I would have just thought of having one of those automatic rascal things, those like, the wheelchairs with the little motors on it. Saw a lot of those. And if you had one of those, you got to the front of the line. I was like, man, I could have got one of those or a wheelchair and just got to the fast pass. You could have done a fast pass at every ride if you had a wheelchair. Like I saw so many, 17-year-old girls that had like a wheelchair with like a knee brace on, like they sprained their knee playing field hockey or soccer or something. It just looked so fake to me. And it looked like, what's the timing? Because if I hurt my knee like that, I wouldn't even come I wouldn't want to be that injured trying to get in and out of rides and stuff. But then I thought, wait a second, would somebody really stoop to that low of a thing and put like a knee brace on their knee and get a wheelchair where they could get to the front of the lines, the entire thing at Disney World? And I was thinking, yeah, maybe they would, since I thought of it and I'm that kind of guy. So.
Yeah, I think everybody on Twitter noticed your length of absence as well. Actually, Twitter and on the Dave Sheridan Facebook page, because I got a lot of direct messages and actual messages on Facebook saying, "Where is Dave? Is he okay? We're worried. We miss him." And I was like, he's just enjoying, spring break.
Oh, wait. By the way, even for the next month on Twitter, I think I can only really retweet and favorite stuff. I just don't have time, man. So now, when I go to bed, I got about a half hour and I go, okay, let me go through this sort of notification. If I see stuff that looks somewhat like, okay, I guess I should retweet that. Somebody put a GIF there or a cool meme. Yeah, why not? But otherwise, I have nothing to say. I'm tired. That's all. I get up way early. I go to build a home, and then I come back and I take my boots off and I, wash all the dirt off of me. And today I was framing a fireplace. That's what I did today. Framed a fireplace, and I had an engineer come, and we needed to figure out the LVLs that we need for my back porch. You know what an LVL is, Creech?
No. When I hear LVL, I think of, being a video gamer. I think of level. But I'm pretty sure that's not what it is.
It's a laminated beam of some sort. I don't know what it really stands for, LVL. Laminated, I know that. Laminated veneer or something, I don't know. But it is a Elmer's wood glued together beam, structural beam that, because it's almost like it's just pressed at such a strength that it's like these things can have spans of like 30 feet. They're big beams because you can't cut down giant oak trees nowadays. They just don't make trees that big. Trees don't grow that fast, and we've depleted all our trees. So they make these artificial beams called LVLs, which is plywood of a sense, but done with like such a type of epoxy glue that it's so strong that those are the things that you put over spans of over 20 feet, 24 feet. So I had to have an engineer out and tell me, what my load was on my roof, which was 350 pounds per foot. And so we had to figure out the LVLs that needed to be underneath this sort of thing, because I'm trying to limit the amount of columns I have on my porch. There you go. This has been a builder's moment, right? Boring stuff. But that's what I'm doing every day.
Well, one of the things I did in your absence, you talked about it last week on the podcast, though. While you were building a house, I was building your new Politcal Soundbyte for whenever you go on your politics rant, which I I'm assuming I'll probably be using at least once before the end of this podcast today.
I don't know. Well, yeah, you should use it now. There's really not much of a political rant I can do since I was gone for so long. And I know that there's some Wisconsin primary stuff happening tonight. But I don't give a crap. I can hear it's on the news right now behind me. So, yeah, don't know what to do on the political side of things. This is a political moment. America, fuck yeah! Paid for by the people that think America is fucking awesome. America, fuck yeah! I'm Dave Sheridan, and I approve this message, I think.
I have heard that they won Dave Sheridan maybe watching Deadpool within the week, which is pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah, that's great. That gives us something to talk about next week.
Well, normally at this point, me and Dave would be talking weird news and just news all around the world of entertainment. Dave usually goes on political rants. But this week, like he said earlier, is a Walking Dead-focused episode. So up next is our Walking Dead wrap-up. For those of you who've never listened before, me, Dave, and Alyssa Mullan, who has been a walker on The Walking Dead multiple times, chat about this week's episode. So here it is. Enjoy.
This is all connected. You show up. And now 3 of us are gone.
Why'd you bring us here? This is the fucking best. Turn the whole county. Big room. What happened?
So I guess the first thing to start off with is obviously, what did everybody think of the episode?
Well, first of all, I wanted to apologize for missing last week. I think I fell asleep. Is that what happened? I fell asleep?
You did. It's
Did you talk to me too?
Yeah, it's actually funny because Alyssa fell asleep the night me and you were waiting for her, Dave. And then the very next night, you fall asleep.
Yeah. The only one that doesn't fall asleep is Creech. Whatever. And then when he said, yeah, listen, I just had it. We just did it. And I was like, okay, whatever. You and I talked. Okay, so yeah, let's jump in. Season 6 finale, The Walking Dead. Well, now we have to wait all the way until October, right? Unless we want to, I guess we could say we have Fear of the Walking Dead we can watch. They really are so different of shows, which is what Michael Cudlitz pointed out today. So where do we start, man? I guess, what did you guys think?
I still question the usage of yet another cliffhanger in a season full of cliffhangers. However, the show, I will say, was still very, in my opinion, very well done for the most part, and still pretty tense almost throughout, all the way to the end.
See, there was 2 major parts to this show, the season finale. There was this let's get Maggie to the hilltop sort of rat maze of, this sort of gang of regulars all piled into a spring break Winnebago getting their friend to the hospital, right? And no roads went to, the hilltops. Every turn they took, we saw that, here's the saviors, and they finally, all of a sudden, they're not complete idiots. You know what I mean? Wait a second. Why couldn't they whistle from the beginning? It seems like when they whistle, they have their act together. It's like creepy, right? And it's like, ooh, now they're everywhere. Before it was like, they couldn't get anything right. They were bumbling idiots before. So, and then you had Morgan, correct, and Carol. They just had their own little arc going on. Do I have that right?
Yes.
It means. So two separate things going on, and, you know, there must have been some purpose to that. Nothing is done. This show's really well done, and it's thought out in many ways, right? So the episode before we set that character up, he's not from the Hilltops, but he has a weapon that's made by the Hilltop people, the guy looking for his horse. And they thought, well, maybe he's with the Saviors. Well, we met him this episode, and the typical, this was the first, like, Mad Max sort of post-apocalyptic steampunk kind of characters that we met. I always have a joke about the apocalypse is like somehow in the apocalypse the only things that survived are, you know, gun stores and Big Five sporting goods or Dick's Sporting Goods, because somehow in every apocalyptic movie there's always somebody wearing, you know, football equipment or lacrosse equipment, or, you know, in this particular case it was like, you know, motocross pads and stuff like that. I was like, how does that stuff always survive the apocalypse? You know, for guys to go, hey, I'm going to put on these, you know, I had a little a pilot I wrote a long time ago called Morons of the Apocalypse, where the guys found a Dick's Sporting Goods and they were putting all the cool pads on and stuff like that. And when they came out and they were so loaded up with the pads, they didn't realize that the gun store was across the street, and the bad guys, they didn't go to Dick's Sporting Goods. They went and got all the guns, you know, and it's like they got their asses handed to them because the bad guys got the guns. But who do you guys think, because you read the comic books, who are those guys on horseback?
They are with a group called the Kingdom. And basically it's led by this big black dude with dread, who kind of looks like George Clinton. And his name's Ezekiel, and he has a pet tiger named Shiva.
Oh yeah, I've seen the tiger. I've seen that I've seen that in the comic books. Got it. That's and wait a second. The Kingdom, are they sort of secluded in a zoo area where there's cages and safety, or this guy's just weird? He's got a tiger.
I believe they're actually in a school, but he used to be a zookeeper before the apocalypse.
Got it.
So I'm guessing when the if I remember correctly, like when the shit hit the fan, you know, he took a tiger and went on his merry way.
Nice. I mean, when you meet a guy with a freaking tiger, right? So now, are these people, this group, the Kingdom, are they able to sort of stand up to the Saviors a bit? Or do you think, I mean, are they going to be good allies for Rick and company?
In the comics they were, because they definitely were against Negan as well. If I remember correctly, they joined forces in the comics to take on Negan.
Right. Wow. So next season, now that Negan's there, and here's the little hint of the Kingdom, you get the Hilltops. This season just seemed like a bridge, and it's weird why we mentioned how, jump the shark here, jump there. Next season could really seem like a completely different TV show. There's going to be so many different characters, right, at play, and so many different factions and group, and it really will take on a whole different aspect of a TV show next season, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, with this the comics and storylines that they're going to be approaching, they'll be approaching what the arc, which was called All Out War. And, like we were saying, that's when they joined forces. Like, quite a few, groups joined forces to go to war with Negan, and they have, like, a legitimate war. And so, yeah, it's going to be, if they go by the comics, it's going to be building to something massive that probably, looking back, we haven't even seen, not even a taste of what is to come, and just sheer scope and violence and everything.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking Rick probably wish he would have collected more people, I guess, in some manner. You can't be now he's starting to realize he's going up against a guy that collects things. This guy collects. I want. You know what I mean? I want half of what you have, and if that's not enough, I want more. But so ultimately, that was. I do think that's. It was this thing with Carol and Morgan. I just, it was a long, strung out 3-episode sort of transformation storyline with Carol there. And I know she's a major character, but it seemed to me that I don't know. It just seemed to me like, what's the payoff there? What is the payoff? You know what I mean? What is she going to come back from this and be stronger? Is she going to just be sort of similar to what she already is? Is she always going to be broken now? Is she soon to be dead? Or is she a conduit to the Kingdom guys and everything else?
What do you think, Alyssa?
Yeah, knowing Carol's personality, I feel like that was the absolute rock bottom for her. I think she had accepted and wanted to die. Obviously, she was calling that guy back to kill her because she knew that if Morgan came back, he was going to save her, and she didn't want that. But I believe in Carol. I don't know. I know that she can come back from it, and I think this is her lowest point, and I think she can only go up from here, I hope. That's all you can do, really. I don't know. But, yeah, I'm wondering that, too. What's the payoff with her character? Because it almost seems like I almost thought it was just going to be her that died because it seems like she's had, like, a full arc and is, like, going full circle. So it's like now I'm interested to see where they take her character. And Morgan's character now. I finally was like, finally, Morgan, thank you for killing somebody. Jesus Christ. So I'm interested to see with those two characters, especially.
Yeah, I almost feel, and I don't think it was Carol saying, I'm gonna make Morgan come out of his thing. I think it was more Carol. I hope she's not like tricked. I hope it wasn't this thing of like just this mental thing, because we saw she went through all this, outside of Morgan, like when she was captured by the saviors and stuff was really the start of it. But before that, obviously, she didn't even want to go. She wanted to stay with Maggie. She was already having these second thoughts and stuff. So, but in the end result, it actually seems like she seems to be going to transform Morgan more than transform herself in this situation. At the end of the day, he might be the one that changes, from all this when he finds out, once he catches wind that somebody's head was bashed in by this guy Negan who has an army. I think Morgan's going to think, oh, okay, and I built this little jail cell for what now? You know what I mean? So we're way beyond a jail cell now, aren't we? So then we've got this thing. Obviously, they're running everywhere. They're being toyed with and led into a little bit of a trap by the saviors and Negan, where Negan now will give his reveal and give his performance and make somebody pay. And they left it on a cliffhanger and eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And I love the POV stuff of like, well, not the, from the bat at first when it went silent after, and my mother said to pick the very best one, and you are not it. And then it just went silent to like the bat just kind of pointing at each one of them. You know what I mean? And somebody got it. We're going to find out at the end of next season. And as we know from, we'll let you in, Alyssa. We spoke with Michael Cudlitz, and we're going to be chatting with him. We're going to have that interview after this wrap up. But they did not shoot. They haven't shot the reveal of who was killed. So even the actors, how many actors, Creech, were on their knees there with the crew? 7?
Something like that. You had Eugene, Abraham, Daryl, Rick, Carl, Rosita, Michonne, Aaron. Am I missing anybody?
Sasha and Glenn and
Sasha, Maggie. That's like 11 people right there.
11 people didn't seem like 11. Like rounded off to 7 there, and I was like, wow, man. So there's out of that there's 11 actors went home, in November after shooting season 6. 11 actors don't know their fate, and it's like that they did just as much as psychological FU to the cast as they had done to the audience, if you think about it. Now, I'm pretty sure that Andrew Lincoln knows that he's not getting killed. I think we all know, I think Carl's pretty certain he's not getting killed. We've had the discussion before that they will not murder a pregnant woman. That show's just not going to go there just yet. Especially not someone like Maggie. I just think that's too much, Alyssa, how did you feel about Negan, his performance, that actor? How did you like was that everything you thought it would be? What's your thoughts on the reveal of Negan?
I loved it. He was great. I feel like the whole cliffhanger thing is overshadowing the whole rest of the episode right now, which is to be expected. But yeah, he was brilliant, and I hated him, but I loved it. I wanted to laugh at some of his mannerisms and the smiles and the certain way he delivered it. But then I was like, no, this is not good. I don't want to do this. And it's that whole thing was, when they came out and the lights came on and they were surrounded, it definitely had me in the same emotional place that I was when I read that in the comics, because it's definitely the feeling shit, they're screwed. You cannot get out of this. This is it. And so, yeah, I already had tears rolling down my cheeks. And so, yeah, it was goosebumps and everything. He did great. I almost felt like getting down on my own knees in front of my TV. I mean, I was right there with them. I was like, I might as well have been the end when I was getting Lucille. That's what I felt like. But I also hated that cliffhanger because I feel like it took away from the emotional. It robbed the moment of the emotional impact it could have had. I don't know, splitting it up, splitting that most iconic moment up from the comics, I don't know. I can't get behind it. I know they said, when we start season 7, this death will start a new story for us. Well, I think we would have ended up there anyway, even if they would have showed it now. So I feel like it's, part of me feels like it's just to draw people back for this big premiere. But then I also do trust Scott as a writer, and I trust Kirkman. So I guess that's all I can do is just, I'm just along for the ride. So I have my criticisms, but I also think the episode was pretty stellar, and I think Jeffrey did amazing as Negan. And everybody, I mean, the emotions were all there. So bravo to them, because I heard they even stayed for Jeffrey's performance. And, even when they weren't on camera, they were still delivering. So kudos to everybody.
Cudlitz said it's 12 hours shooting. He was on his knees. Right, Creech?
Yeah, I think he said 10 to 12 hours.
10 to 12 hours, and he was freezing. It was cold out there. You could see the breath coming out of Negan. And, look, it's, they've officially got their Who Shot JR moment. We don't know who got killed. We know who did the killing, but now we don't know who's dead. And it's sort of like everyone's got to be quiet. Who is it? They don't even know. It's like, and by the way, I do you think even the producers know at this point, or do you think because they haven't written a script, so maybe it's maybe they're like, hey, let's
I mean, they have to have some idea where it's going now. I mean, they start shooting next month.
Right.
Well, I actually just read. I think Norman was just on a talk show.
I don't think the cast knows
early morning
yet.
Talk show. Yeah, I think he said though that he knows, and it's heartbreaking or gut wrenching or something. I just saw it, so I don't know. I could be wrong, but I was just scrolling really fast and saw that. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know if all the cast knows because Michael said he didn't know. However, I mean, I'm sure the writers and the producers and the people that are running the show know where it's going by now. And probably the cast will be finding out very shortly, probably within the next couple of weeks as well. Especially the one that's going to find out when they go in, no, it's time to come back down to Georgia for another 8 months of filming to find out they're getting pink slipped. I'm sorry, we killed you off at the end of season 6. So we just need to put some blood on you, let you lay on the ground for 8 days, and you're done.
Yeah, welcome back and also goodbye. That's
Exactly.
terrible.
I think, like, if I was on a hit show like that as an actor, I don't think I would die. I don't think I would let them kill me. I'd be like he's just hitting me with the bat, and I'm like, oh. And they're like, you have no brain left, Dave. Stop. I'm like, and they're like, you gotta die. You gotta get off the show. No, please. I want to be on this show forever. We smashed your head in, dude. You're dead. It's like, stop moving. Stop moving. Exactly. It's still like moving. And the director's like, is he moving? Is he moving? All right, we took a photo of you, dude. You're not even, we're just putting a freeze frame up. No, you can't put a freeze frame up. Yeah, he's dead.
No, that you would be the reason that they would have to stick with that first person ending.
Exactly. He wouldn't die. He just wouldn't die. He got hit in the head like 5 times, brain splattered out, and he was like, "No, is that all you got, Ethan? I'm not going down." But so we got to make our predictions here. But I don't want to go first. Do you guys have some idea of who you think died?
I have 3.
Okay.
Glenn, because of the obvious connection with basically the comics. Plus, there's another added little tidbit of information. Basically, I don't know if you had heard about it, but someone had leaked the last 11 minutes, just the audio, from the finale, like 3 days before it aired, so like Friday of last week. I refused to listen to it because...
Wait a second, I thought you already saw the thing.
I did, but I didn't want to listen to it on the case that it, they could have possibly have changed the ending. And so I just refused to listen to that at all. And because the ending that I saw last week was the ending that they wound up showing, but I didn't want to verify that leaked audio is different. And actually, the leaked audio, after I rewatching the episode, and the leaked audio is actually different from what they sent me as press, and also from what they showed on TV. And that in the version that was released, Negan swings, and then basically it just gets quiet. You hear the sounds of the bat and like the smushing of a head, and that's about it. However, in the leaked audio, you still hear everybody screaming, and there's actually stuff you can hear going on in the scene, and somebody actually slowed it down. So you can make out what's being said amongst the Negan's taunts and stuff like that. And one of the voices is Glenn screaming for like trying to get out the word Maggie. He only gets out Mag, and then you hear like Maggie screaming for Glenn and Abraham screaming for Glenn, and in between the shots, and Carl screaming no, and it sounds very brutal, but yeah, with slowing that down, I mean, it does seem to lean towards Glenn being the one getting the bat. However, if it's not Glenn, Negan has to kill somebody big for him to make an impact on the show, and for him to be positioned as, this do not mess with guy. He can't just kill Eugene or Aaron, who aren't the biggest characters, because their death, while people would miss them, it's not it's not going to really impact that much. So I tend to think it's got to be a bigger character, which would be a good reason to kill Daryl, since he's like their cash cow and one of the biggest characters. However, also, my last pick would be Abraham, and the only reason I pick Abraham is because when Negan was basically, you know, taunting everybody, the only person that didn't really show any emotion or tear up or anything was Abraham. Like, he stared him straight in his face, even straightened up and looked defiant. And Negan had made that in his, you know, that comment in his speech about needing people to work for him. And if Abraham's being defiant there with, you know, the threat of his own death basically being put in front of his face, then the chances of him actually cooperating with Negan are probably slim to none. So Negan might have killed him to just get rid of this problem before it continued. And that was my really long and windy explanation for the three people that I think. Really.
So you basically said Glenn, Abraham, and who was your other one?
Daryl.
Daryl, okay. I do think you make a good argument for, if you're going to send a message, take out somebody. You know, look, they have intel. They've been watching these people. They knew a lot of stuff, right? They know about things inside Alexandria, the garden, and all that stuff. So obviously they've done their intel, so they kind of know who people are. And I think we all agree, like you said, they're not going to kill Rick. They're not going to kill Carl, you know. So those are two that, and I don't think they're going to kill Maggie. So those are three people that cannot be killed in this particular thing. Now, it would be a major shocker if he kills Carl. That would be crazy. My thing is, though, if you know that this guy, here's what's weird to me is, and there's nothing they could do now, and, you know, obviously, if the show goes, wherever the show goes, maybe Rick will figure it out. But the saviors are sort of idiots. But this guy Negan, well, he's kind of badass and he's got his shit together. So really, you got to take Negan out. You know what I mean? And now that you've met him, you got to take him out. And if you had an opportunity right there, 11-1, I don't understand why they just didn't jump him and just kill him. However they could. By the time those guys, you know, I know there was 300 of them. By the time they shot all of them, they would have killed Negan. And then Alexandria would have been safe. You know, now they would have all died, but Negan would have been dead too, and then it would have been done. The Saviors would have no leader, and I don't think they would have been anything without Negan. So it was in their best interest to try to kill Negan at that point. I think it was their best chance to kill Negan was just now. You know what I mean? Somehow, especially with Michonne, you know, I mean, come on, she should have been able to take him out somehow really quick. If they got a hold of the bat, she could have batted him in the head.
Damn, that'd be pretty ballsy, though. I mean, they were surrounded. I don't know if I would.
No, they weren't going to live.
I don't know if I would do anything, though. I would be like, shit, I'm not moving.
You're playing Russian roulette at that point. He was going to smash one of them in the head till they died. If I'm on my knees, I don't know. I'm just saying, in real life, if I'm sitting there on my knees and I've got a 1 in 11 chance of getting smashed in the head, and everyone, all my tightest friends have a 1 in 11 chance. But if we just all jump this guy, yeah, we're all going to die, but at least the rest of our loved ones back at Alexandria are going to live if we just take this guy out right now. So, and we will see. I personally think so. My choice is so weird, but I'm feeling Sasha. I feel like it's Sasha.
Yeah.
I hope not.
I feel like it's like you were going back to, it's got to be somebody that the fans are going to react to. And while I think they'll react to anybody in that lineup that's going to be killed, but I think the most emotional impact would be if they just kept it with Glenn. I mean, I think Negan's whole speech and him walking around and getting a feel for everybody, and you know, and I think he was gauging who would be the best to take out. I mean, we saw he was having a hard time, and I simply cannot decide. And, and I think he saw Glenn act out, and I feel like him seeing that and seeing that emotional moment, I think that's him. I think he preys on that, and I think he might just take Glenn out like he does in the comics, because I think that would have the most impact with fans, and for the story and the characters, it would be his death. I think, I don't know. I mean, Daryl could go. That would be my second guess, and I don't really have a third one, but yeah, those are my two, Glenn or Daryl.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like you're saying, there wouldn't be enough impact if it was, I don't even know the guy. What's the guy's name? Creech, that I messed up earlier today, too. The one
Mark one, Aaron?
Yeah, Aaron. Okay, like Aaron hasn't even been that involved in the season. He's still relatively new to the group, so I think he wouldn't have as much emotional baggage, getting taken out. I think whatchamacallit has been a liability so many times, Eugene, that he can make bullets, he claims he's going to make bullets, but if he got knocked out, it's almost like, well, it was kind of a matter of time for something happened to that guy anyway. So,
Well, and he gave Rick his plans, so.
Yeah, gave Rick the plans as a kind of goodbye, which could be foreshadowing in some way. But it was weird because Abraham's there with an ex-girlfriend and a new girlfriend, and they did just make a pact, sort of, in that car ride. The only thing that really happened in that car ride was that Abraham said, hey, would you want to have a baby with me? Do you think you could do that? And she said, yeah, she could. And he said, I think I could too. So, there is this thing of, all right, are they going to start a family? Because they sort of agree to saying, hey, we're going to try to take that relationship up to the next level. And, he obviously, if Rosita gets her head smashed in, well, that's good for Abraham because it kind of gets her out of the way. But if he now decided that I'm ready to take this relationship up with Sasha, well, if she gets her head smashed in, then there is some sort of arc there because they've spent a lot of time. That's the other thing that's been happening all second season or all season 6 is Abraham and the relationship with these women has sort of had an arc itself. So, by her getting her head smashed in, there's a little completion of that storyline as well. So that's why I was thinking, all right, Sasha's a character has been with them for a while. She's not one of the original characters. I think it would be too obvious if it was Glenn for the reasons that you said, because he originally was killed, so the fans are kind of expecting that a little bit, like, oh, I think they'll do that. And also, he already jumped out and played the emotional card, so I think that might just have been like a red herring, So, I don't know. My whole thing is maybe I'm trying to outsmart it, like, you don't want to give the audience exactly what they want, or you also don't want to give the audience exactly what you think emotionally they would kind of crush them, and I'm not saying they're trying to outsmart us, but I'm just thinking that they want to surprise us in some way. Oh, wow, I didn't, the person I didn't think they would kill, they did kill. However, and I know they want people to be emotionally attached a little bit, but at the same time, they don't want people to stop watching the show. I think if there's some of those characters, if they get killed, you're going to have some people stop watching the show. Do you think that would ever happen? Is my question. If I'm not going to name the characters. I think we know who they are. But
you mean if Daryl dies, we riot?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I don't think there'll be riots, but there are some heavy fans out there of that character, like to the point where they are infatuatedly in love with this guy. Do you?
So you mean like the lady who bit Norman?
Yeah, exactly.
At the convention?
Yeah, people like her. Do you think that they would stop watching the show if he gets killed?
Yes.
Okay, well,
I don't know. I feel like
they would say they would, but they would be back.
I don't know.
I don't know. I think they'd try and take a stand for a little bit, and then they'd be drawn back. Because, I mean, geez.
I know
Are they really that much of the fan base?
I know people who watch this show just because Norman Reedus is on it. That's the only reason. They're not into the show. They watch it because Norman's on it. So,
and
yeah,
I think they didn't cover his gunshot wound all that much. I mean, he took a gunshot wound at point blank. I mean, or did that thing just graze his shoulder or something? What was the deal there?
It did look like it was just like his shoulder shot. That's what it looked like to me. It must have not really done any damage. Because I mean, while he was injured, he wasn't like, didn't look like he was dying, like at risk, like Maggie was.
Here's something, and Jesus hasn't been in the last couple episodes, from what I remember, right? He's kind of disappeared a little bit, but I feel like I kind of don't like that character. He's kind of a douche in a way that he got Alexandria sort of wrapped into this group. You know what I mean? Because he's like, oh yeah, we trade. Your world's about to get a whole lot bigger. You know what I mean? It's sort of like if your thing, the Hilltops, if my little like settlement was being held like whores and slaves to Negan and the Saviors for half of everything, this sort of tice of half of everything they had, I don't think I would want any other settlement or group to even be known about. I would have said, stay as far away from us as you can. You didn't see me and I didn't see you. Do you know what I mean? I certainly would not want to.
I agree, but at the same point, I mean, Negan would have found them eventually. And I feel like, I mean, yeah, it is kind of funny that he did mention that your world's about to get a whole lot bigger, but he left out the part, maybe because he didn't officially know yet, but, your group's also going to get a lot smaller. But, yeah, I think it would have delayed it, but in the end, I'm pretty sure the Saviors would have eventually found Alexandria, and then it would have probably still led to the same event.
Yep.
Because Rick and them were already having to go search for food more and more before they took half of what the Hilltop had. So right. they would have been on runs, and they could have still encountered them there. I think while Jesus sped up that process, I think eventually the outcome would have still been the same.
Yeah, well, we'll find out can't say next week now. God damn it, gotta wait.
Yeah, you can blame Noah. It's Noah's fault because they went to Virginia because of Noah.
Exactly. They wouldn't even be in that area. I still think it was the Saviors that took out Noah's compound in Richmond there. Just because now, they also, in this particular episode, they go, oh, they've got some machines, you know what I mean, those tire tracks and stuff like that. They're real similar. Could have still been the governor, like you're saying, though.
Yeah, the governor and his thing.
All right. Well, we got a long way to go. I feel like it's weird. This one definitely feels like, God, like October's a long way off now.
It does.
It is,
but I also feel like time has been like flying by though, so it might come a lot quicker than we think.
Here's the thing, and this is the sad thing. Sites like the Spoiling Dead fans and spoiler sites in general. I mean, I was talking to Alyssa about this earlier. I mean, while people who don't actively go search for that, they're gonna, we're gonna be waiting till October to find out. However, I can guarantee you, not 2-3 weeks into filming, it'll leak. There'll be spoilers on who actually survives because with The Walking Dead, you have these groups that all they do is practically stalk the set. They're outside the walls. They have cameras with high-powered zoom lenses. And they take pictures of who comes in, who's going, who's on set, and they document it. So then they're able to put together who's here, who who dies. Okay, this person hasn't been on set in 4 weeks. They're obviously not here anymore.
Right. They're going to know that from whoever, after the first week of filming, who's getting back on an airplane and leaving. Plus, you can go on IMDb and go, oh, who just got cast in another TV show as a regular? Because one of those people getting killed, they're not. It's not going to be long before they're on another show, or another movie or something. So
I will say this. I haven't checked the IMDb, but it's been announced by the companies that are doing it. Steven Yeun, who plays Glenn, has signed on to do the voice of a lead character in a Voltron series on Netflix, which obviously voiceover work's not going to be that time-consuming. However, he's also booked a lead role in a film that he has to go overseas to shoot beginning in May through, June. Unfortunately, Walking Dead begins filming in May.
Yikes.
So he would be missing the whole entire first month of filming, which isn't a good sign.
Oh, boy.
See, oh, no. I might just start crying again like I did when I watched it.
It was almost like he was barely in the season because he was dead at the beginning of the season and had to work his way getting back, right? I mean...
Yeah. Damn it. That's going to suck. I mean, we definitely know.
He hasn't really been around.
Yeah. We got our cliffhanger, but we definitely know one of our people died, and when I think of the possibilities, it just all really sucks.
So, yeah, Steven Yeun's not been busy with film projects. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's doable. If he really wants to fly back and forth, he'd probably run himself ragged. I mean, Norman filmed 999. At the same time he was doing Walking Dead. He was literally, I mean, granted that was in Georgia, so he was just driving from one set to the next, but...
Well, and Lauren did The Boy, right? Was that during filming, or was that during the off
That was
season?
during the off-season.
Oh, gotcha.
So, yeah, this is, I don't know, it could be a sign. Could be an omen, for sure. But, yeah, the spoiler people will know for sure because I remember the fuss when Beth died. Like, they knew Beth was going to die before the episode aired because somebody had found out where she was staying and actually went to the apartment complex and found out that she wasn't living there no more. Like, she wasn't renting and that it was for rent. So they knew she had moved out. Like, that's how in-depth these people, that's how in-depth they'll research all of these actors to find out what's going on in the show.
Well,
That's
hey,
crazy.
if anybody's out there during this filming, just like Creech is saying, if you have any intel and you want to get in touch with us and be on the show and chat about what you might know, dumpster diving, renting, applying for apartments that are currently being rented out by actors, hanging out at the Atlanta airport. If you work for the TSA and you see somebody from the cast heading back to LA about a week in May, give us a call. Be on the show. We would love to find out. We would love to be the ones that break who really got killed here. I think that would be great. Why not, right?
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Okay. Alyssa, we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Yeah,
right.
good. Talk to you guys. See ya.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Welcome back, guys. Next is, I guess, what we could just call the main event of today's podcast, and it's an interview with Abraham Ford himself, who, as we just discussed multiple times, is in The Walking Dead, played by Michael Cudlitz.
Played by Michael
friend with
Chicklets.
Dave.
Played by Michael Chicklets. Yeah.
Yes,
I always
good friend
get
of
him and
Dave's.
Michael. I honestly don't get them confused because Michael Cudlitz is, I've worked with him and he's I consider him a friend. He's a great guy. First of all, if he's not my friend, I really wish he was my friend because when I have met him and worked with him, he's he's a pretty awesome dude. So I think he'd be a great friend. He's the kind of guy that would definitely come and, if you've got a play, you're putting on a play just for your own artistic purposes, he'd come out and support that. Or if you called him in the middle of the night and said, my car broke down, I need a battery jump, Michael's the kind of guy that would do that. You know what I mean? So he's a family man, loving husband, loving father, and he's had a great career with, a lot of great roles, and he's been blessed to be on a couple major TV shows and played some beloved characters, including Abraham on The Walking Dead. So we're going to get a chance to chat with him. We are not chatting with Michael Cudlitz. He was on The Shield. Wait, no, I'm sorry. We are chatting. We're chatting with Michael Cudlitz of Southland. We're not chatting with Michael Chicklitz, I think that's how you say his name, who is on The Shield and The Commish. Do not get them confused.
Bad things happen to good people when you get those names confused.
Exactly. So with that said, let's go chat with Michael, because he is going to have some major insight on, not just his character, but the entire show. A lot to talk about with how season 6 went. And hopefully he's going to give us sort of the inside scoop of who did Negan kill? You know what I mean? Who did Negan and Lucille devour and whose head did Negan smash in with Lucille in the season finale? Michael is going to tell us that in the next hour. I just know it. We're going to get it out of him. Right, Creech?
Yes, we are. Right now.
Hey, guys.
What's going on, Mike?
Good morning.
Where? What the hell are you doing in Nashville, first of all?
Well, we got a convention next weekend, but I had my wife come out and join me on Monday. So we're going to chill for a couple days before it gets insane.
I got it. So your wife came out yesterday, because today's Tuesday, I think, right? It's all blurred.
Yep. I think so.
And those conventions really start on a Friday, right? So
Friday or Saturday.
Got it. And is that a Walker stalker?
Yeah. It's their first time in Nashville, so.
Yeah. And they do a good job trying to change up the city. They have a couple staples that they like to do, and then they're expanding into all these different cities. Sticking on that, so have you ever interviewed with Creech before, my co-host?
No, but I saw him. I saw his tweet he put out, or Instagram or Facebook or something video. I don't know where I found it.
We got some fan questions. I was just going over them. Some of them are about penis size. I don't know if we should ask those. And then other
we
ones
can ask them.
Insightful.
We can ask, but sometimes subjects are just too big to talk about in a room.
That's why we're doing a conference call, man. So just the background of the podcast is, it's sort of funny, was Creech has been doing the podcast for about a year before, and he interviewed me for his podcast, and I've always wanted to have a podcast because I like to chat. But the funny thing is his beginnings was, sort of a Walking Dead oriented themed fan podcast, and he's also into Comic-Con stuff, and I've sort of broadened it out into horror stuff and politics, because Creech, you never really talked as much about Trump as you have since I took over the show, right?
No, I have to say the Trump talk has definitely spiked at least 95% since you joined the podcast.
I just like how somebody listened to your podcast for a year, they're Walking Dead fans, and then I come on, and they're like, why is he co-hosting? And then it's like, why is he always talking about Trump?
I'm not up on the news. Is anyone getting what city did somebody get beat up in this time?
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. Trump and his rallies are very similar to any Walking Dead convention or Walking Dead show. You know what I mean? There's somewhere along the line, there's somebody has a bloody face. Only one of them is fake, and the other one is a guy with a Bernie Sanders sign. You know.
You got to swing those signs, when you can.
Exactly. So we are rolling, and
I figured.
we might as well start seeing how you're going to have this convention there in Nashville.
Yeah.
This weekend, it's taking time, hanging out with the wife. Now, did the family come in too, the kids or anything, or is it just the wife?
No, my sons have been to a couple of them, but not. They don't regularly come. They're pretty time consuming. I mean, we get pretty absorbed with the fans, and at the end of the day, you're just exhausted. So there's no real value in coming during the convention unless they want to walk around. But they know all these guys, so they see them on their off time.
And just sticking on that convention situation, when you booked this show, did you have any idea of the type of show you were getting into in terms of this type of fan base, and that, did you know it involved sort of like these conventions? Did you know this was part of what you were getting into?
No, not at all. Not zero. I knew the show was popular. I was behind on the show. I was a fan of the show, but it was running at the same time. They would air at the same time we would go back to start shooting Southland. So I would always be, almost a full season behind, when I was watching. And then when I got hired, I was like a season plus 3 episodes behind. But had no idea any of this other stuff even existed. I've been pretty fortunate over the years, and I've worked a lot, and I've been on some pretty popular shows. And around that stuff, early on I was a construction coordinator and worked on Beverly Hills 90210. So I saw the kind of, intense fan stuff. But this is so beyond any of that. It's ridiculous. So beyond. There's no way you can really wrap your head around it unless you're in the middle of it.
Yeah, I can imagine, because there's definitely shows that have a fan base that would be popular at conventions, say like a Comic-Con, like let's say Flash. Flash has a big fan base, or Battlestar Galactica or something like that. But they don't have their own convention. They don't have their own convention. The only one that I can even think of is Star Trek. The original Star Trek had those Trekkies and had its own convention. You know what I mean? I can't really think of another show that inspired.
Well, my buddy's involved with the Supernatural show, and they actually have their own conventions as well.
Did you know that?
Pretty big.
I didn't know that. No. It's definitely understandable, though, since that show has had, 10, 11 seasons already?
Mm-hmm.
That's a long time.
Yep.
There's 3. Isn't there like 3 main people in that show, though?
There's 3. The brothers. Can't think of their last name, but the Eckel brothers, or the no. I'm sure somewhere some fangirl's about to stab you in the face because I don't know the name of the brothers. The Jensen brothers, maybe.
All I know about Supernatural was that Jeffrey Dean Morgan played their dad. And, of course, now Jeffrey is also Negan.
Yeah, well, actually, maybe it's Jensen Ackles is the actor's name. I don't know. I'm sure I'm dying here. They're literally gonna sneak up behind me and murder me.
We can totally just alter the conversation and dub in a robot voice with the actual answer, maybe?
No, don't. Leave it that way, because they'll love it anyway. They'll make fun of me on Twitter. It'll be great.
When on the podcast, when I just mutilate names all the time, I'm terrible with names and stuff, and he just puts in the robot voice that just puts in, like, it's like the customer service telemarketer voice comes in and just says the right name. So.
Perfect.
So, obviously, Season 6 just concluded with a huge ending. So, Mike, what has been the feedback from the fans you've talked to about this last episode?
The feedback's interesting because it's mixed. The episode itself, I feel, is a tremendous episode. So far as character stuff, so far as, just the experience of watching it. But as a season ender, there was some frustration with the fans that they wanted the cliffhanger to be the reaction of the, what would the group do once one of us got killed, not the cliffhanger to be who got killed. And I can understand that, but as it's interesting because the immediate reaction, although everybody, sort of was emotionally sort of strung up for the entire episode, because it really is, the whole episode really is just this noose slowly tightening until the very end, where there is literally no escape. Although they enjoyed that, there was frustration in the initial reaction, because everybody in their head was trying to figure out who was going to be killed, because they knew somebody was going to die. They'd heard the rumors that this is where we're headed. We really haven't killed anyone in a while on the show, so they really wanted to know what was going to happen and who was going to die. So, but what's been interesting is that even as early as the next morning, and definitely into yesterday afternoon, the reaction has sort of shifted, whereas people are pissed off about not knowing, but they still are realizing that the episode was a fantastic episode. Nobody wants to wait, 7 months to find out, who got killed, if anyone got killed. Certainly not Enid, because she's still locked in the closet. So we're going to have to wait and see. But the reaction's been very emotional and strong, as we knew it would be, both with frustration and excitement. So.
Well, it's kind of funny just going back to the Saviors and the portrayal. By the way, Creech is a fan of the comic book, and he reads the comic book. And I was familiar with the comic book before the show. But the moment I found out the comic book was ahead, and then there's this kind of like questioning of like, oh, you get to see what the show is going to do, but yet it doesn't completely follow that, because there are other original characters that are in the TV show that aren't in the comic book. And to me, my frustration I was like, well, I'm not going to read this comic book, because I just want to enjoy the show for the show, versus always trying to compare it, going, well, in the comic book, this happened in the comic book. Yeah, she actually died before that in the comic. It's like that gets really frustrating. But there's definitely a who shot JR moment that has now officially happened to the show. And there's been, you can trace back, because we had a question of like, when does a show jump the shark, and the whole, because in this season there's been quite a bit of these moments of, the one where they're trying to walk through Alexandria and they have the Judith baby, and this Judith baby becomes sort of this sort of, I wouldn't say, what's the word? Well, just like any baby. Hey, man, you have a baby in life, and it's, all of a sudden it's like, oh, God damn, it's a fucking baby, and like the same moment with the family, but it's like you have this moment of, you take the baby, go to the church, and it's sort of like on a production level, just on a creative writing and a production level, the baby becomes sort of an asset that you have to always mind and take care of, in a sense. No, it's like a professional football player. All these guys are worried about their stats. Everybody's playing their individual game, going for their contract. But when you get down to game day, the question is, where's the fucking ball? And Baby Judith is the ball, and it's like. Where we always got to remember where we put the ball, and because the audience is saying the whole time when they haven't seen her for a while, they're like, well, where's Baby Judith? And we can only get away with not showing where she is for a certain amount of time, and then you have to go back and acknowledge it and say, what are we doing? But it's also a great storytelling tool, because, how can you redeem yourself more? Or how can you feel redemption more, or let the audience know that you are supposed to redeem somebody more than the lead of the show, the one that you've followed for, fucking 6 years and are just like, cry, bleed, weep, laugh, rejoice, mourn. That guy hands over his baby to you and says, keep her safe. You're like, okay, well, he trusts him. So no matter what my feelings are, I have to trust him now too. It's a great storytelling device, and it's a great way to reveal, elements of character development. And it's also a pain in the ass at times. So that is a good point. With it's sort of like if the baby is the chalice of some sort of aspect, it's like when he trusted Gabriel with the baby, he sort of passed the torch a little bit to Gabriel as if he's now now trusted member of the family. You know what I mean?
Well, that was the ultimate thing that showed he was forgiven.
Right.
That's the ultimate. It's like, I don't really trust you, but I'm going to give you my baby.
Right.
No,
and
that's like, no.
You mentioned the whole kind of interesting on the forgiveness level with someone like Rick, because Rick is this character living, he really is somebody encompassing the sins still. You know what I'm saying? He's obviously the opposite of Morgan. You know what I'm saying? Where Morgan's like, hey, man, forgive the world. I think everything has something to offer in the world, blah, blah, blah. And Rick is still taking on this perception of, no, man, we got to kill everything. Yeah,
but after this week, Morgan, every life is precious. Maybe some lives are a little less precious.
Yeah. Hey, he eventually pulled the trigger back on that guy.
Yeah, a bunch of times. It wasn't. That's what I loved about that moment too, because it wasn't a sort of like a sniper shot, like boom, let's take this guy out. It was a venge-filled, attack on this guy, making sure he was never ever going to get up again. I mean, it was
right.
like that was a no fucking around, takedown. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was interesting. I didn't get to see what happened with the rosary because that guy had it in his hand. She had the rosary from back at that satellite TV station, wherever the hell it was, and sharpened it up to get out of the duct tape and that kind of like Jesus saves sort of moment she made of the weapon, and then she was still continuing to carry it, and then he grabs it to track her down, and then, Morgan shoots him, so I just didn't see the rosary in his hand still or where that's going to go, or, there's a bit of symbolism there, obviously.
Yeah. Well, redemption, and I mean, this, you can go on and on and on. It's one of those images, and the Jesus Father Son metaphor, and rising from the dead, coming back from the other side. It's strong, obviously, used through history. But I want to go back actually to what you were talking about with the graphic novel. I think Creech will agree on this. I don't think that reading the novel takes anything away. I think it actually enhances if you do it the right way, because you sort of know that there are two concurrent stories and two concurrent worlds that are made by the same creator. You basically have two, as a storyteller, you have two ways to tell the story. You have a chance to sort of go back and sort of say, what if? You've written the story one way, and this is what happened, and then, maybe you killed off a character, and then, 10 editions or issues later, you realize, I wonder what it would have been like to still have that character around. You can actually do that in the TV show and change it. So you're sort of following the same geographical map and the same blueprint of like where these groups go and the sort of incidents that sort of happen to them. But the specific character development and the specific character interaction can change. And it's literally like going through and being able to edit and re-edit or change your story after you've committed to one version of it. And I think if you follow it the right way, it can be, and you realize that they are not the same and don't expect them to be the same. I think you can get a lot out of it. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I definitely do. Like you just said with remixing events. The show did that in episode 14 of this season by giving Denise what was Abraham's death in the comics. Now, I've seen interviews where Robert Kirkman stated he really regretted killing Abraham off in the comics when he did. So with the show, he had the chance to right that wrong and changed it. And now Abraham continues to live.
Exactly. And he always said he didn't like the death he was given. So we get to change those things and move forward in a way that is satisfying, but also adds little Easter eggy things for people who do follow the graphic novels. There's something a little extra, and we set up panels, or I should say we set up frames that resemble panels in the comic, and even if you don't specifically remember that thing, it's very familiar to you if you have read the graphic novels, and I think there's more of an intimacy, and it's kind of like a gift, a thank you, from Kirkman and from Scott Gimple, to those that have committed to both and those that are vested in both. And it doesn't take anything away from you if you haven't read it, but it just gives you something a little bit extra when you see an image like when Abraham's army entered. We pretty much replicated the cover of the graphic novel of when they were introduced. And if you don't know that, it's fine. It's still an image that you see, and you see us enter. But if you know the graphic novel, you get to go, "Oh, motherfucker! They just recreated it." You know, it's cool, and you have this gift that is only for those who read the graphic novel. So I think it's cool. I think it's really, really cool what they're doing.
Sticking with just the graphic novel side and those frame recreations, and just when I was first introduced to your character on the show, and Eugene as well, and I'll tell you, obviously the governor was a great character, you know, Negan is a great character, but you guys really, to me, kind of embodied sort of, you know, since I knew that it was coming from a graphic novel point of view, you guys sort of had this sort of Marvel comic universe world more than some of the other guys, you know, just with your vernacular, your body language, your hair, you know, your whole, even Negan pointed that out. He looked at your mustache and he went, yeah, I can't beat that. I'm going to need to shave this thing.
Yeah, but that's, I think that's Scott Gimple wanted to pull it closer to the comic in the sense of we knew we had a lot of these characters coming in. The largeness of Negan, the ridiculousness of these characters. And by ridiculousness, I mean that, you know, the larger-than-life aspects of these characters, I think, allow us to sort of embody the whole zombie apocalypse element of it. You know, I think if I was to give any kind of criticism to Fear the Walking Dead, that's what it would be, is that it's not based on on a graphic novel. So the characters tend to be even more realistic, which I think makes the show much more serious, and serious in the sense that, you know, it's not an escape. It's almost like a what if. It's like, what if this were to happen? Where I think our show is lifted and elevated by these, you know, even though Daryl was not in the graphic novel, but he's running around with the crossbow. You know, Michonne has the swords. You know, Abraham has the hair and the mullet and all these things, you know. There are these sort of larger-than-life elements that the characters have, but we play everything based in reality. So you're able to sort of live in both worlds and have these. We're able to have bigger events happen on our show than they are on their show because we have the characters that can round out that world and make it believable. And I think that's what they were trying to do, is really, you know, reminding themselves like, hey, we have some intense shit coming up, and we need to keep these characters big to be able to, you know, hold all of this stuff in.
Well, in your character particularly, you have this vernacular where you have these sort of catchphrases. I mean, you know, it seems like every week there's something that can be printed on a meme or a T-shirt. You know what I'm saying? If this was back in the old, like, you know, Mork for Mork Fonzie days, I'm sure if you go down to Venice Beach, there's got to be T-shirts of you with the Mother Dick sayings and all these other things.
Yeah.
Is all of that in the script, or is any of that coming from Michael?
Yeah, no, it's all in the script in the sense that we go through stuff, and when I get a script, we'll talk about it. And if there's something that I think is, you know, we work together on. If I say I think we can do more here, or you guys are, you know, you're pushing it, but I think you could push it further. And usually the answer is yeah, we know, we're working on it. You know, we had a couple other versions, but we have to get this out, and we're, you know, because a lot of it has to do with, you know, not network approval, but no, you know, pushing that line so far, you know, and just making sure that they can get away with it. Like the line 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago when I said, you know how to bite a dick. You know, it's like Scott knew he wanted to use you know how to bite a dick, but he was like, okay, we got to get a couple of different versions just in case they don't let us use that. And there was some funny shit, but there's nothing funnier than you know how to bite a dick in that serious moment. You know, it's so serious, but it's so on the nose. You know, we got to calling it the sauce. Scott would say, you know, I think we could use some more sauce here. And I was like, absolutely, because the elements of the scene wouldn't change, but the verbiage of it would change, and we would, the goat rodeo line back in season 5, episode 5. I've been to 3 goat rodeos, wherever the hell it was, 2 county fairs, the goat rodeo, and something else. But we kept going through all these different things, and we were trying to infer his travels with the war, So I've been to, whatever. I walked the desert with the Bedouins and all that. It changed it through a series of rewrites and events. So it's kind of crystallizing it down to that shortest, most poignant 1-2 punch you can get, because when in the end it's TV, and you gotta it's fast, so you gotta get it out there, and anything too long becomes like you're trying for the joke, not sort of staying in the reality of Abraham trying to move through life. So yeah, it's all them though.
Right, and we're going to get to some fan questions in a minute. I just wanted to circle back to the actual episode that we ended on just now. One last thing about that, because obviously we know you're not going to tell us who got killed, obviously, but it was shot from a POV. So the 2 things you mentioned, how in the graphic novel, your character, he wasn't happy with, I didn't like how Abraham died in that graphic novel. Now I get a better way to do it. Well, somebody got killed here by Negan, presumably, and it's from a POV shot. However, let's just say it's you, let's say it's Glenn, let's say it's Eugene or Daryl, whoever it is. Obviously, now, do you feel like when we come back to the next season, we're going to see the brutality of this kill, or do you think it's just we're not going to see the thing? Because it seems like whatever character got killed from your group, it's a major character, because that's everyone that got in that RV was fairly a major established character.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that there has to be some brutality to whatever is going on there, because the idea is that, Negan is hated. Negan has to be hated. And I think that if one of us gets killed, whoever gets killed, if the idea is that that's why we're supposed to believe him, I think if the characters themselves see it only, and the audience doesn't see it, then the characters are ahead of the audience. So I think the audience has to see whatever has happened in order to have that satisfaction, and also to be able to, if you want to be pissed at somebody, you gotta see him kill the baby.
Right. I mean, Negan was obviously, this was his message. Hey, I'm going to kill one of your guys, with Lucille here. This is my message to you. So therefore, the audience needs to see that message the same way he got you guys on your knees to watch this message. And now, obviously, when you go and shoot a TV show, you got everyone out there. Is this something they already filmed? Do you already know who's dead, or did they leave you as the actors with a cliffhanger as well?
We basically know what you guys know.
Oh gosh. So one actor went on hiatus. All actors, you guys are all went on a hiatus, going like, do I have one more episode left when I come back? Is that what you're telling me, Mike?
Yeah, pretty much. Somebody, there's someone floating around out there that knows or doesn't know, or is waiting on a call. Or maybe not. Maybe it was I don't know. Maybe it was one of his guys.
Well, that was my thing. Who's the blonde guy with the Creech? What's that character's name? He's kind of a buffoon that has screwed it up so many times, and his face is he's got the burn now in his face. What was that guy's name?
You're thinking of Dwight.
Dwight. In my mind, I just caught that as Dwight, because he's almost Dwight, kind of this comical, he's like he's sort of the sidekick guy to keep getting screwed up. You know what I mean? So, it could be Dwight. You never know.
Yep.
While we're still talking about the finale, I do have to ask this. When you first read the script for episode 16 and saw that Abraham was going to have to be on his knees again, did you start having flashbacks to that episode in season 5?
That was the finale knees part was brutal. It was brutal for all of us. It was a 2 nights of all darkness hours. So probably 10 hours of darkness. All of us on our knees for that entire time, and it was freezing cold. That was way more brutal than being on my knees for the 4 hours I was on my knees in the burning sun on the road. Way more brutal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The thing is, there was one moment where Negan said something, and that you could see his breath come out. You knew I knew it was cold, and obviously it was wet and stuff.
Yep.
When did you guys film that? Was that in, say,
it would have
October?
been, we wrap up the end of November, so that would have been, that would have been, mid to end November. Would have been like the 15th or something.
Right. Yeah,
and it gets cold. It gets cold in Atlanta in the winter. It's as hot as it gets during the summer. It gets cold.
Yeah, it seems like Atlanta doesn't have a middle temperature. That's for sure.
No, it's not. It's like hell. It's like hell hot or Antarctic cold.
Before we get into the fan questions, I don't know if you get asked questions about this a lot, but this question is actually for the both of you guys.
Actually, I think we have a sex drive. We have a sex drive question coming.
we do have a sex drive question coming, and I've actually talked about that movie a lot since I think it's a great movie ruined by its title. I shouldn't say ruined. I said, but people. I don't think the movie itself, and I think Dave would agree with me. It's like a fucking modern John Hughes movie. And it was people were like, oh, sex drive. What is this, porn? What is it? And they just turned it off.
The marketing, I had a hard time marketing that movie. How to label it, right?
I agree. It was a highly underrated film, in my opinion. But my question is, even though you guys only had one scene together at the end of the film, it was such a crazy scene with girl fights and
a donut and a sombrero. And
I think Dave and I had the best time. Was that over 2 nights or was that just 1 night?
It might have been 2. Yeah, it might have been 2 nights.
Yeah, but we just, and that's when I really met him. I mean, I had met him in passing, in the hotel, and we were like, hey, you want to pop by the casino? We're gonna maybe go grab a drink, and we never really got together, and did anything. But we're trying, but just his work schedule, or he was shooting back out of town or in town, and then we finally hung out that night that we shot the final scene, and we just, I mean, everybody had just a great time, and Dave was just killing it, killing it. It was fun.
It's a lot. Look, man, light comedies are way different than shooting something. We weren't on our knees out in the middle of the woods with somebody's head.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So we're down in Florida. It was warmer. We had a great. But anytime you shoot at night and you pull those kind of long night things, people's clocks get twisted a little bit, no matter what. I've never once been an actor that has not gone like, a night shoot. You feel like you're in college doing like the all-nighter thing. You know what I mean? No matter what.
Exactly. Exactly. And then the scene was wonderfully written and ridiculous, and everybody really, really talented. Really talented. It was fun.
Creech, here's my little trivia to that scene, and people can watch it to that film. And when I get shot, we were staying down at the beach, and there was this beach. They had those beachy things. Those souvenir shops and stuff. And I had that beard and that long hair. And we were down there. There was like the place that sold like the bright orange G-strings and the fringe T-shirts, the airbrush T-shirts and stuff. And I was able to put together a Macho Man Randy Savage outfit at the shop down at the thing. And I came to set that second night. Wearing this like bright orange G-string and the Macho Man outfit, and just kind of like goofed off with people at the beginning. And then I was like, oh, shit, you got to get ready. And I left the orange G-string things on. And then, I got shot in the leg. And then they were like, I think that was like a secondary thing, like, oh, let's pass by Billy Joel getting his leg treated in the ENT thing as we get to these other guys. And so I was like, okay. And then we get over there, and that's when I realized I had those oranges, so I yanked them down. And so here's this guy that's like a biker guy, you know, he's got the black vest and the black thing. And if you watch that scene and you pan by, you see these two male EMT guys placing pressure on my groin region with the orange things on them at the end of the night. And that was one of those weird happy accidents that, like, it wasn't like I came to set planning for that character to have those on at all. Like, it was like, oh, I came and I was goofing off as Macho Man Randy Savage, and I just happened to be wearing them underneath the outfit. And then it was like, oh, I don't have time to change. So
it was great.
I was also going to say, Michael got to chase a naked Clark Duke through a cornfield.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, that scene was hysterical, the whole thing. I mean, the mom and dad.
Trailer park and the mom and dad.
And the balls hanging out.
Yeah, the guy had his balls hanging out, his real balls.
Yeah.
Crazy. They made prosthetic balls, and he pulled his out instead.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's the real deal.
Now we have to watch it again.
No, we couldn't even get through the scene. We turned around and we'd seen the prosthetic ones, and they looked fine, but you could tell that they were fake. And then we turned around and you could tell they were real. And I forgot the actress's name. We couldn't even. We did the scene looking past each other. You know, you look at somebody's left or right eye if you're favoring, towards the camera. And I was supposed to favor her left eye, and I was looking like 2 inches past her left eye to nothing because we could not make eye contact. We literally, we just couldn't. We were dying.
Yeah. I like best about shooting that film, and there's a couple other ones that are like that. When you get an ensemble, and the weird thing was, it was like Mike and I are a little bit older. I'm not saying we're old. Of course, that was almost like 8 years ago. So, but there were young kids on that. You know what I mean? The other guys were all like just turning 20, 21, and so that made you feel a little younger hanging out with them. But you're at a hotel, so anytime you have an ensemble and you're on location, and it's only 3 weeks, it's only 4 weeks of shooting, whatever it is, it's different than, like what Mike's doing in Atlanta. It's a TV show. He's there for years, I mean, not there years at a time, but it's going into years now, that this guy is down there. It's a little different, so, and how is that, Mike, like, you've done, obviously you've had a lot of TV shows on TV, but Southland was shot in Los Angeles, correct?
Yeah.
So
that's
it working?
It's better being home. I got my kids. You see your kids grow up as opposed to when when I went to Atlanta, they were older. They were at the very end of high school. Right. But I've done some stuff that takes me away. And every time you travel when you have a family, you're away from your family. Right. So it's like it's like you got like 600 kids now, right? Yeah. You want to be near them, like you don't want to have kids so you can leave them for someone else to take care of. I hoped to be there, and Southland afforded me 5 years in the middle of when my kids are growing up that I was actually able to be home, which is fantastic. And we shot the hours we shot on that show was shot sort of documentary style. So typically a TV show will have long hours, but on Southland we didn't. We were kind of locked into. We were shooting 11 and a half hours, and that's all we were budgeted for. And then we moved over to TNT. The budget got cut even more, so it's like we shot more days because shooting nights are more expensive. So like everything was kind of pushed to days. I mean, maybe shoot one scene, in the wintertime, because we shot in the winter on purpose because the days are shorter. So we're, it all wraps around budget. We're able to. Because it's wintertime, we still work only 10 hours, but structure the day in such a way that, you'd shoot 3 or 4 scenes during the day. You'd take a break as the sun was going down. Then you'd come back and you'd shoot your 1 or 2 night scenes, and you'd be finished by 8 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock at night in the winter, but you're home, and it's a large ensemble. So you're not working every single day. So now you're home. You're not have long hours. You're not working every single day. It becomes like a dream gig, because you're just home. If you're raising a family and you want to be there, that's the gig you want, but you never get. it's like the the unicorn of jobs. It's just like you hear people talk about it, but you never experience it. And I got to experience it for 5 years, and I feel very, very grateful for that. On top of the fact that proud of the show. So.
Yeah, no, it's a great show. When it first came on, it was sort of like, it reminded me of, obviously it's modern, but it was sort of like this kind of like, okay, this is Adam 12. This is
absolutely
Emergency. Like, it reminded me of that because that's my period of growing up. It just kind of had that sort of like, it was a bit of an old school sort of throwback in a way.
Absolutely. And that was the idea, They wanted to do like an old school anthology style show. The idea was the cast was going to change pretty dramatically. I mean, we have a core group of players, but depending upon what department we moved into and talked about, we were going to move into those things, and it was going to very much have that Adam 12, Chips, Police Story all rolled into one.
Right.
So yeah, that was the design of it.
And then something similar happens here with Walking Dead. Is you have a big ensemble. There is a budget to the TV show. Okay, you land at Alexandria, so now there's a sort of home base to shoot on. That probably cuts down a little bit of travel time for everybody. And there's sets now, and there's trailers and stuff that are regularly parked in the location. But at the same time, you can't service everybody every episode. And do you feel like sometimes, do you see from being on that side of things, like there is a budgetary thing, but also at the same time, it's also that, well, it's a big cast and you can't have everyone in every episode. But
yeah, well, I think for them, I think John Wells' company started this when they started doing ER. These large ensemble casts, really large. Maybe you'd go back even as far as Botchko, where you got these, casts that have a large group of people that we're following, on a regular basis. I think what they do is, I think it's less of a budgetary thing, because especially when you have like the number one show in the world, they as a network, they're gonna put whatever money they have to do to keep it there, because they're making a lot of money. And the fans love it, and so it's less of that. But but not being just stupid and throwing a bunch of money at it. If you look at it, everyone's they structure deals differently. It used to be everybody would be in all shows produced. Now it's you're 10 out of 13, so that you can take those characters and you can you don't want to be in a show where they service everyone every time, because then you're not working a lot. I would rather not work. And then when I do work, do more important character things, and have something more loaded, and not feeling like, oh well, this we're paying Robert Downey Jr. to be here, so we should have him walk through the scene. That's kind of bullshit. So I'd rather have if we're going to follow 8 to 10 people. Right now we have 15 series regulars. I'd rather have episodes that have only 6 to 8 of us at a time. Unless they're big group things and they're important to see what the group is doing, I'd rather have these smaller character development episodes that track everybody. So you do care about everybody. You can share their joy. You can mourn with them. You feel what they feel, and you feel for them. But the only way you can do that is if you care about them, and the only way that you can care about them is if you know them. And the way you get to know them is through watching them experience things.
Well, and that leads us, it's a good segue into one of our fan questions, which comes from Cudlitz Love. That's her real name. That is her real name. I believe it's
that's her real name. That's her birth name, or is it a him?
Yeah, she's later changed it to Jessica. Creech, it's Jessica, right?
Yeah, it's Jessica.
And then, so she asked a pretty insightful question here, which goes directly to what you were just saying. Speaking to your character, Abraham, has there ever been anything that your character's done in the show that, A, has surprised you, but also that you haven't agreed with? And if you didn't agree with it, have you had conversations, or is it the kind of thing where it's like, this is what my character's doing and I'm going to go do it? But obviously this season, your character went through a little bit of a relationship change, and it was sort of abrupt. I know you must have heard it from some fans.
Oh yeah. No, I always laugh because I've been on sets where people say, actors have said things like, "Oh, my my character wouldn't say that, or my character wouldn't do that. You know, I look back down at the script and I go, no, man, it says right here your name, and then you do that. So your character does say that, and the people who write your character on a weekly basis seem to believe that that's what you said. So why don't you just try saying it first, and maybe figure out how you would say that, as opposed to saying you wouldn't say that. I don't write the shows. I'm paid to act in the shows. I certainly have opinions on things that you know, we can maybe drift into, or maybe this could be done more subtly, or, hey, what do you guys think about this, or what did you mean by that? But I'm not paid to disagree with what my character is. People are paid to write it. I'm paid to act it. I find it more challenging to figure out how I would do something if I sort of don't initially agree with it. You know, how do I make it so it works? That's my job. But I really respect Scott Gimple as a storyteller. And he's sort of earned the trust in that way. So when I see things that are sort of extraordinary that I might be doing, you know, on a week-to-week basis, I tend to just jump in and trust him. So yeah, no, I haven't disagreed with any of it. Actually, I've loved what they've done so far, and so everything that I've heard, I love where they're continuing.
Next question is from Carl Williams. As we know, there's only one way that a major ensemble character usually leaves the show, and that's through death. If one of your current castmates' characters were to bite the big one, which death do you think would impact Abraham the most? Also, on top of that, which would affect you the most as a fellow actor and fan of the show?
That's, to me, whenever somebody talks about other people dying on the show, I always go, oh, man, like, that sucks, because that guy just, he's not on the show anymore. He's a working actor. Yeah. I'm like, oh.
I mourned the Herschel death. You know, I think Scott Wilson was amazing as Herschel, and I mourned that death. Right now, my two favorite characters in the show have always been Glenn and Carol. Mm-hmm. And so to see either one of those guys go would be hard for me. You know, I think for Abraham, it'd be any of his core group, including Rosita, you know, but now Sasha, so Sasha, Rosita, or Eugene. You know, I think for the audience to get over right now, it would be a pretty brutal to have Maggie die because she's pregnant. If they were to have them both die, that would be just sort of like, that'd be like, what are you doing? Or baby Judith, you know, she's like the golden one. It's like, you know, there's certain things that I think the audience would have trouble wrapping their heads around depending upon how it happened. I think they've done a good job making everybody care about everybody. So any loss right now would be pretty brutal.
And by the way, because both you guys obviously watch the show. Correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe I didn't catch this, but were they insinuating that the lady at the when they took Maggie into the one room and tried to where's your location, was she basically kidney punching her and sort of beating up the baby? Is that what they were insinuating there? Because she had the bruises on her body. On the back.
I don't remember specifically if the bruises came from. She kicked on the ground.
Got it.
I don't remember who kicked her, and when that happened. I think once they found out she was pregnant, actually, that was a weapon, like a tool or a weapon that Carol used.
Got it.
And they kind of took it easier on her.
Right.
And especially when she was the girl that was with her when she got separated was trying to. You know, was not torturing her, I don't believe, in that way, other than just asking. But I don't remember specifically where that came, but I think it was before they knew she was pregnant, or the guy, actually.
Yeah. She got kicked in that room, and then when they took her away, I think the idea was they were like, that's one of our best interrogators, and, she's going to beat the shit out of Maggie. But yet then the reveal was that she lost the baby, too. You know, it was like all of a sudden there was this sort of bonding of they were mirrored images of sitting across from each other. She was the Maggie in a weird way of that group, the same way that this secretary was the Carol of that group. You know. So.
Yep, exactly. And they were both. I think the idea is that everybody one-on-one. You know, we have more similarities than differences. You know, it's just the circumstances of this new world has made it so that we have had to make different choices to survive. It's
Right.
very much like you take modern day comparison would be you go to a place like Prague, the Czech Republic, and you see all these older pensioners who have lost everything because they went from communism to a more sort of socialist republic and or democratic republic, and they have actually, because they chose to not die under communism and try to provide for their families in some way, they chose to just survive, and surviving meant to just exist, but they were supposed to get a pension and all this other stuff. And then when the revolution came, the younger generations are in much better shape, but there's this whole sort of disenfranchised group, the older group, that is just left with nothing. And you look at these guys with the saviors, they have decided that that's the only way that they can survive. So, how can you blame them, really? People are just trying to survive, and they're doing the best that they can. Nobody has started out, none of these bad guys have started out being, quote, bad guys. They've just started out with a vision of what their future would be like, and things evolved. The Terminus guys didn't start out as bad guys. They were just like, well, if we don't do this, we'll get killed. You're either the food, or the cattle, or the rancher, and the governor started out, trying to be cool, but he was obviously a psychopath, but he's just trying to protect people. All of the bad guys that we've come in contact with didn't start out as bad guys, and I always point out, if we were to come across our own group, we'd kill them because we're, fucking lunatics.
Well, that's what I was always saying the whole time. Like, the saviors must have thought you guys were crazy, because it's like, the first time we knew them, they completely blow us up. Like there's nothing left of buddy, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, we blew up a bunch of guys on the road, and we attacked one of your outposts and basically murdered everybody in their sleep. I mean, there's not. It's like, okay, I think we found our equal.
Yeah, and the funny thing was, up until last night, even though they seemed very well organized with the walkie-talkies and the code words and the handles and stuff like that, they were kind of buffoonery, because every time you came up against them, you guys sort of wiped their ass a little bit. You know what I mean? It was always them running. So it's sort of like, what the heck is this? And so, but at the same time, last night proved that they are well, the numbers that they have, the organization that they have, the machinery that they have. So it's, and I just love that Andrew's look of just total. He looked like Hitler coming out of the bunker. You know what I'm saying?
He's broken.
Yeah,
broken.
The next question we have is from Teresa Parrish. She says, Abraham always has the best one-liners on the show. Upon reading the scripts for the first time, what is your initial reaction to these Abrahamisms?
Oh, I just laugh. And I go, oh, really? Thank you. Really? I get to say this? I mean, I love it. They treat me really, really well. I love it. Dave knows when you read those gems, man, you can hear it in your head, and you hear what you hope it's going to be, and then a lot of times it gets elevated even beyond that because of the circumstances on set. So, I love it.
Now, speaking of your one-liners, I just wanted to add, I think it's awesome how you were able to turn one of the more recent fan favorite ones about Bisquick into a charity event through the Bisquick Challenge at Walker Stalker Con.
Yep. Yeah, we had some people come in and say that they, on Twitter, were like, hey, we're going to bring you Bisquick now after that line. Initially, my thought was, oh, boy, how am I going to get all that home, or what am I going to do with it? And then I realized I don't have to get it home. We can give it to local charities, local food banks in all the cities that we go to. And so I basically put out a call and said, you know what, bring the Bisquick. Actually turn it into a challenge. And I contacted General Mills. I challenged them, and they actually stepped up. In the first one, they sent us 1,000 boxes, and
oh my goodness!
Now they're gonna, it was awesome, 2 pallets, and now they're gonna, at every one of our conventions, they send us a few hundred boxes to kind of seed the pot, and we're gonna hopefully evolve this into a big charity event, and it'll get bigger and bigger at every city we go to for food drives, and we're gonna make a difference.
I'm just glad it's actual Bisquick and not like,
not Bisquick.
A sperm, you know what I mean? Like, it's like when Creech just said the Bisquick challenge, I'm like, wait, guys are like, jizzing in the cups and bringing them to me. No, man, I'm bringing the Bisquick.
Yeah.
No, but that's awesome. So now that is definitely something you never saw coming. You know what I mean? Like a year ago, you would not say, hey, wait a second, one line, this really funny line is going to turn into this, a charitable thing that all of a sudden General Mills is involved with. You know what I mean? That's crazy. So, you never know where the world will go.
Ever.
Yeah.
Next question is from Samantha Bowman, and she wants to know how you were welcomed into the Walking Dead family on your first day on set.
Oh, it was great, honestly. Look, when you come to set, it's always like the first day of school. You're nervous. You don't know what to expect. This is the number one show in the world, and coming under these established people's work environment. And you don't know what to expect. You hope for the best, and a lot of times you're disappointed, typically. And this is not the case. These guys were wonderfully welcoming. Andrew had sent me an email prior to me showing up and said, hey, if you need anything, let me know. We're all here for you. And I was sort of like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. I'm sure that's not really what's going on, but okay, nice, good for him reaching out. That was cool. And then I showed up on set and realized, no, it was straight up honest, cool people, a lot of love, a lot of support. We are all we have out there. Most of us have traveled long distances to go work out in Atlanta, and Atlanta's not some far away fucking planet or anything, but it's compared to Hollywood and New York, it's pretty separated from the TV industry and the film industry. There are no distractions. You don't get pulled away for interviews all the time. It's very much focused on the work, but you are separated from your families, and because of that, you all have this common bond of being on location, even though it is for 7 months. We do dip in and out in between, but could not have been nicer. Could not have been more welcoming. It's an awesome situation.
Well, that sounds like a pretty awesome situation. Hey, you got any more questions for Michael before we let him go, Dave?
Well, here's the thing. It's just obviously one of the big – you've had the two big aspects from this season was, moving on from Rosita, you're dating Sasha, and then you also you've kind of butted heads with Eugene. You know what I mean? And somebody asked, you and Eugene have what you would describe as a bromance, and do you foresee you guys sort of mending things in the next season and sort of teaming up again? And he kind of did that.
Yeah.
Obviously,
yeah, I mean, I think the question
I think was sent before they saw the episode.
Before, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, the answer to the but so they don't feel like they're left out. The question is, yeah, and obviously there's a strong connection there. Even when he was pissed off at him, when he wanted to kill him, he wouldn't, kill him in quotes. I think he wanted to kill him like a brother wants to kill another brother. He went to go drink the water out of those bottles to test it, as it were, and Abraham smacked the water out of his hand. So he feels this deep-seated need to protect Eugene for whatever reason, and there's a really big connection there. So, and we're going to explore that more as we move forward.
Unless somebody got the end of the bat, Lucille. Oh boy. I mean, hey, look, man, they got that RV really quick. But I guess you guys were walking through the woods for a while. But it seemed to me like, you told them, like, hey, keep driving, drive around. Next thing you know, the guys. I'm just worried that does anyone here in this conversation have any kind of? Is there any question that Eugene did not turn on these guys, right? He didn't turn himself in, right? I mean,
I don't know. We'll have to see. He's a survivor, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, he's a scientific survivor. Even though he lied about being a doctor, he is still very smart, obviously, and he does rationalize his decisions through, mathematics of statistics. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So,
yep.
He might have.
I don't know. Maybe, yeah. He They may have caught him, and they said, we're going to kill you, and he may have said, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he would have done that, but I don't know.
He realized I only have so much gas, so let me, you know how he gave that saying to, think about this. You know, he could make bullets. If you could make bullets, you could make a bomb. They left him with some gas. Maybe he said, if I turn this vehicle into a bomb and I bring it like a Trojan horse to them, and then basically something can happen here. I mean, they got to get out of it somehow. Anyway, right? I mean, unless they kill the person and let them go, I guess.
Yeah, no, we'll see. It's all wonderful speculation.
Oh, yes, it is. It's just speculation, folks. I'm not trying to get Mike to tell us anything. Come on, Mike. Tell us. All right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, man, have a great time at the con again. And
awesome.
I'll be seeing you there for sure.
Are you going to be there, Creech?
Yeah, I'll be doing press work there.
Oh, great. And pop by and say hello. I won't be able to talk to you at the table, but you can come by and say hi.
Get a quick photo with him, Creech.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for taking time out and
that was awesome.
us on the podcast. But by talking to us, you're talking to your fans out there, and thanks for sending in the questions, everyone, to Michael, and it was informative. And I'm looking forward to season 7.
Absolutely. Talk to you guys soon.
Hey guys, it's CJ here from the Dave and Creech Show, and I just want to take a minute to let you know how you can take part in one of the craziest horror films in recent history. Strip Club Massacre has just finished filming, and now you can be a part of it by contributing to their Indiegogo. There's all sorts of cool perks for contributing, like your name in the credits, getting a shout out from actress Erin Brown, or even actually attending the actual world premiere where you can meet me and Dave in person. To find out how you can contribute, find them on Facebook with keyword Strip Club Massacre. Alright guys, welcome back. This is pretty much the end of the podcast. Just want to let everybody know.
Creech, I told you that he was going to tell us who Negan killed, so now we know. Or unless you just said, wait, did you edit it out? Did you edit that part out?
I did.
The part that he told us who got it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind.
Yeah. If you are going into the Nashville area, if anybody is going to go to Walker Stalker Con Nashville this weekend, take a look out. Not only is Michael Cudlitz going to be there, but yours truly will be there as well, getting interviews for this podcast. So, yeah, make sure you say, hey, just look for a fat guy with a beard and a camera. I don't bite.
Oh, that's not nice
much.
to say about Michael Cudlitz. He's not that heavy. Or are you talking about yourself?
He does have a beard. I was talking about myself, but yeah, okay.
All right. Well, okay, so you'll be back on Tuesday. You'll be tired, but you'll be filling me in on everything that happened at Walker Stalker Con. I'm going to watch this Deadpool thing, and we're going to have that to talk about, and we'll be doing a wrap-up of the Fear the Walking Dead, the premiere of that.
Exactly.
With Alyssa. So we've got a lot to catch up on next week, and I'm sure there's something political we can talk about. So,
oh yeah. Plus, I might have an interview next week with somebody from Fear, as they are Fear members also at Walker Stalker Con. So who knows what we'll come up with next week. I'm going to leave that guest for, I guess, a surprise.
Sounds good. Sounds perfect. All right. Perfect. Well, I'll talk to you next week then, Creech.
All right.
Good show. What a great show.
Bye, everybody.
Shut up and sit down.
Thank you for listening to The Dave and Creech Show. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of Dave and CJ. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of Creech Creative Productions or any of its affiliates.